Welcome to the Complete Street Commission's May 14th regular commission meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating in accordance with public health guidelines. First, we'll do the roll call. I would like to introduce Complete Streets Commission members and city staff present. I'm Chair Sally Cole. Commissioners present include Athena Arakomos, Jackie Sebrian, Meredith Bergen-Bailey, Matthew Raskoff. Oh, sorry, skip. Scott Herscher, one of our new commission members, and Kevin Rennie, one of our new commission members, with Matthew Raskoff absent. City staff present include Katrine Maki, Senior Transportation Planner, Senior Transportation Planner, and Cassandra Cortez, Associate Transportation Planner. We want to take a moment just to welcome Scott Herscher and Kevin Rennie to our commission. We're very excited to have two new commission members. If you would each like to just briefly speak momentarily to let us know what drew you to the commission and give us a little background.
Sure. I'm Scott. Like so. Hello, I'm Scott Herscher. Longtime Menlo Park resident, been here since 2009. This is my first experience in any level of city politics. And what drew me in was I was just telling a fellow member here, I live right off Middle, and seeing the profound effects of the improvements to Middle Avenue was really exciting for me, both as a parent, because my child bikes, and for myself, because I also bike. So seeing what kind of improvements can be made made me want to be involved in the machinery that makes things like that happen. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you. Welcome to the machine. All right. Thank you so much. I'm just kidding. Okay, Kevin.
Yep, Kevin Rennie. Been in the Bay Area 20 years, Menlo Park for 12, lived in the downtown Sharon Heights and Willow neighborhood. I've been involved with bikes for about 30 years. I worked in the bike industry. I worked in Specialized. When I was younger, I was in bike clubs and stuff like that in the East Coast. We work with them with advocacy with Rails to Trails and other things.
Great.
I would call into this meeting always wanting more,
Yes.
and then my good friend encouraged me. So I was like, I guess I have to do it now. I'm accountable, extremely passionate about getting out of cars, enhancing the community by making ourselves more available face-to-face, increasing communications, and just safety, and slimming down on the car use for the US. So yep, thank you.
Glad to have you. I remember you'd always come with your public comment. You'd have all the list of things that you wanted to say. Very thorough. Thank you. Welcome. Cassandra, would you please provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair Cole and members of the Complete Street Commission. Welcome everyone to the May 15th Complete Streets Commission meeting, and thank you for attending. For members of the public who wish to provide public comment for any item on tonight's agenda, after the chair calls for public comment on the item, if you are in person, we ask that you fill out a speaker card available at the back table and return that to the clerk's desk. If you are participating virtually, attendees on Zoom may engage the raised hand feature, or if you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please wait for your name to be called on. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. That concludes the instruction, and I return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Under reports and announcements, city staff and commission members may communicate general information of interest regarding matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No commission discussion or action can occur on any of the presented items. Katrine, do you have any reports and announcements?
I do. So right now, our city council is working on the fiscal year 25-26 budget. So last night they had a meeting looking at a report about a little bit in the CIP and a little bit of the revenue for the city. The next public budget workshop was May 29th. And then after that, there'll be the city council public hearing June 10th. And then the budget adoption will happen June 24th. Another announcement is that Bike to Anywhere Day is tomorrow morning from 7 to 9:30 in the morning. So we're going to have stations at the San Mateo Bike Bridge, the Willow Place Bike Bridge, Ringwood Avenue Bike Bridge, which is the bridge over 101, and then both sides of the Caltrain station. That's where our Energizer stations will be.
Oh, fantastic.
And my last announcement is recognizing that there was a fatal bicycle collision on Middlefield near Encinal Elementary School in Atherton. And the Atherton's chief of police has stated that their department is actively investigating the circumstances surrounding the collision. They're working closely with a regional major accident investigation team and safety traffic experts to conduct a thorough and transparent investigation. And they're committed to determining exactly what caused the collision. But that's all the information we have at this time.
I wanted to mention that at last night's city council meeting, I thought, Mayor Combs and the council did such a lovely job recognizing the loss of Dylan Taylor, who was the bicyclist. He was an athletic coach at MA and had also been a coach at Hillview and grown up in the community. And they started the meeting by observing the loss, his death, with a moment of silence. So that was really touching, and I think we've all had really heavy hearts. And I guess it is a reminder that the work that we do on the commission to support the city and encourage safe streets and Vision Zero is just really important, and our commitment to it is very meaningful. So I hope we all feel that way, and and recognize the loss. I did want to add one thing I noticed right before the meeting started, if it's helpful to anyone listening, is that in Menlo had just sent out an email at 5 saying that Dylan's family welcomed the community to join his celebration of life this Sunday at May 18th at 2 p.m. in the Sequoia Room patio at Arriaga Recreation Center, which is just across the pond over there. So obviously the community is welcome to attend. The other thing I just wanted to mention quickly was that at the city council meeting last night, I was present on behalf of the commission to receive the proclamation of the city council that this month is biking month. Drew really read a lot, whoever wrote it was great, extolling all the virtues and all the benefits of biking in the community. It's really a great, kind of endorsement, and also of that. And then when I accepted, I did quickly thank the council for supporting the build out of bike infrastructure in our town. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't ask for public comment on that. No.
So this concludes my reports
Oh.
and announcements. But yeah, I think then we move to the general public comment.
We don't, okay. All right, so we're moving to general public comment. Under public comment, members of the public may address the Complete Streets Commission on any subject that is not listed on tonight's agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on the items that are brought up during public comment that are not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Cassandra, can you please call for general public comment?
Thank you, Chair Cool. For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature, or if you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table, bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Seeing no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Under regular business, the commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require commission approval. The first regular business item tonight is to accept the Complete Streets Commission minutes for March 13th, 2025 and April 9th, 2025, those 2 meetings. Just want to clarify the reason we have 2 meetings to accept and approve the minutes of is because Brian Altman, was in attendance last time at the last meeting, but he abstained. So we didn't have
He-
enough votes.
We didn't have enough votes.
We didn't have
He
enough
wasn't
votes.
present.
He wasn't present at the March meeting.
So
Okay.
he didn't want to vote on the
Yes.
meeting.
So we didn't have enough votes. So here we go. So any clarification from the commission on those two meeting minutes before I take public comment? No. Okay. Cassandra, can you call for public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair Cole. For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature, or if you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to engage your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table. Bring it to the clerk's desk and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes? Thank you. Commissioner Seaborn makes a motion to accept, and Commissioner Arakomos seconds. To take a vote. All right, so let's take a vote. Who approves the motion to accept the minutes? Does anyone not approve? Does anyone abstain? All right, we're good. Thank you very much. All right, well, now we get to the meat of the heart of the meeting, which is new commissioner onboarding. This is always a good item on the agenda to support the onboarding of our two new commissioners, but also for a refresh for all of us. Staff member Katrine Maki, the Senior Transportation Planner, will present this item. Thank you, Katrine.
Thank you. There we go. A quick agenda of what we'll go over. We'll talk a little bit about the commission, and I'll give you a little bit of information about the transportation division within Public Works, and then a little bit of a look ahead of what we'll be doing next. Sorry, there is a lot of text on these slides. I apologize in advance. But we'll just power through it. It'll be fine. So the Complete Streets Commission is an advisory body, and the roles and responsibility of the advisory body is to assist in achieving the city council priorities. And so this examples of that would be, your email addresses are published on the city website. So often people will reach out to you with public testimony. And then also in these meetings, you'll have the opportunity to study referred matters and return recommendations, and that would then go on to the city council with those recommendations. There is an authorization within our municipal code that the commission can authorize to designate no parking zones. So this is something that wouldn't have to go to council. This is something that can be handled just with this commission. But there's a limit to the number of parking spots that is authorized in the muni code. And so in the downtown area near the Caltrain station, it's up to 3 parking spaces. And then elsewhere, it's up to 5 parking spaces.
I didn't realize that. I have a quick question. When it says other area up to 5 parking spaces, does that mean when we're considering one decision, we can remove up to 5 parking spaces?
Yes. And
Okay.
if it had an impact more than that, then it would need to go to council. And then there is a need for you, and I think the city clerk's office will be reaching out to you if they have not already, to file a statement of economic interest with the city clerk within 30 days of appointment, and then annually thereafter. And if there's any questions ever regarding a conflict of interest, the city attorney will help answer that question, and I can help put you in touch with the city attorney if that's needed. Once a year, the commission selects a chair and a vice chair. We'll be doing that tonight. The chair is the presiding officer over the commission, and they're responsible for preserving the order and decorum of the meeting and ensuring that it's an effective, productive conversation, and allowing for public participation and a balanced discussion. If the chair is absent, then that's where we'll have the vice chair come in and be the presiding officer. The term is 1 year, or if a successor is selected. And then each commission has to annually rotate its chair or vice chair. So the position changes annually. You have liaisons to the council or to the commission. And so you have a city council liaison and a staff liaison. The city council liaison is Cecilia Taylor. And she, I think so say facilitates communication between the city council and the commission. I am your city staff liaison, and it is my role to advise the commission on directions and priorities of the city council, and inform you of events, activities, policies, programs occurring within the scope of the commission. One little note, if you receive an email or if you have a reason to email the entire commission, we cannot do it all in the two. Everybody needs to be blind copied. If someone were to reply all, suddenly there's a quorum over email. And so it's a no-no. And that's a Brown Act violation. So you probably didn't notice, but like if I send out a message to all of you, everyone will be in BCC, and that's why. And then my other role as a staff liaison is to take the action minutes. One other note, and you'll be getting this again in the training, but it's just worth repeating that if for some reason you can't come to one of these meetings here in person, we do have the ability to have a Zoom participation, but it's discouraged. Again, it has more to do with the Brown Act than what our technology makes available to us. And so even if it seems simple, it's not. And so if you believe that your participation is essential to the meeting, I need to know more than 2 weeks before the meeting. And then we have to notice the meeting in that off-premise location that you will be at, which needs to be ADA accessible. Like in theory, the public needs to come to where you are attending the meeting as well. That's the Brown Act requirement.
Right. So this is like when you have a city council meeting, like the last one where at the top of the agenda, it said Drew Combs is participating in London from this address.
Exactly.
Okay.
That applies to us as well.
Yep.
And for any one meeting, no more than one commission member may use this off-premise location, and then we must do the votes by roll call. So that's why we kind of go back to like, if it's essential to the meeting, to me would be like if we were not meeting quorum or something.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And if you have other questions, definitely when you're in the liaison training or the commission training, it's good to ask those questions there, or email me anytime and we can work it out with the city clerk too. So the Complete Streets Commission sets an annual work plan. And that work plan is informed by the work plan that the city council has already set. So the city council already has had their annual work plan and priorities set for the year. They include focusing on housing, emergency preparedness, climate action, activating downtown, and safe streets. And so then our advisory body also has a work plan that will support the goals set by city council. So later tonight, we're going to set an ad hoc subcommittee to get that started a little bit so that it streamlines the efforts. And that work plan will happen, that work will happen in June and July. We'll report out to the city council in August on the past year's progress. And then the work plans will get presented to city council in September formally. So now a little bit more just about how kind of projects and efforts move through the city. And so this is the council priority are set by the city council in January, February, and that informs the work that they're doing right now with the budget and setting the CIP, which will be adopted in June. The CIP stands for Capital Improvement Program. And those are the short and long range plans for existing and new infrastructure work. The funding that goes into funding the capital improvement plan comes from local funds. It comes from TIF and other fees collected, and grants and taxes. That's kind of the input. So there are CIP, there's the capital improvement program, and part of that is the efforts that the Public Works Department works on the streets and the sidewalks, and our transportation programs as well. And that all folds up into the annual CIP that gets adopted by council. the way we prioritize our resources within the transportation department is a list of, just our baseline daily operations, which I'll show you in a following slide. And then kind of the pink side of pink part of this pyramid is just the work plan projects that is set by council. And then there's definitely unanticipated emergent priorities that come up that we have to work on. And so our baseline and daily operations within the Public Works Department is to review traffic control plans. So every time there is a construction project or a reason to close the road, we have to review the safety of the plan for routing traffic through that road closure. Doing field inspections of the work that's being done on the roads. We have teams out there on the street checking the work that's being done and permits and that kind of thing. Maintaining our signs and striping on the roadways. So if we get a see-click fix that a street sign's been knocked down, our team is out there to put it back up. If a signal goes out, if a street light goes out, we have a team that will come that is on site, but also then consulting teams, the contractors that come and help us with that as well. We're applying for grants and then managing the work when the grant is won. We're working on the Safe Routes to School program with education and outreach events in the schools. Setting truck route permits of where vehicles of a certain size are allowed to, only drive on particular streets. There's the shuttle program. We review development. So when there's a large development project that comes in, it's reviewing those plans to look for its compliance with the requirements for the city. Support for the Complete Streets Committee and collecting traffic data. So this is every 2 years, there's counts on our major roadways to look at how many vehicles are driving on a street. Sometimes we're looking at the numbers of the turning movements at intersections, and sometimes speed is collected with those counts.
Can I ask a really quick question, Katrine?
Mhm.
Is there any possibility that this
The
simultaneous translation could not
it's distracting. huh?
overlap the slide? Bullets.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if sometimes, I don't know if you can do it you probably don't have a touch screen, but sometimes you can kind of move that bar, but I don't think in this case we can do it, but
I will ask IT for the next one. I think it
Thank
may
you.
be a new feature and it might maybe be required for accessibility, but
oh, I think
I
it's
will
great
ask.
to have. I think
yeah,
it's great to have, but I know sometimes we're looking at maps and things and I would hate to miss
the bottom quarter of the
but
screen.
basically just for our edification. So after development reviews, it said
CSC support, traffic data collection, and other agency coordination.
traffic data collection.
So those are
Okay.
our counts on the streets.
Yep. Okay, I want to note that. What was development reviews? I'm sorry, I'm trying to
Development-
understand it all.
Yeah, the development review is when we have the large development projects that are happening throughout the city to check for a number of things. I'm not the one that does it, so I can't go in too deep detail, but at a high level,
Yes.
compliance with our requirements that relate to transportation.
Okay, on we go. Thank you.
And then the transportation projects that we are working on. There are several projects in several different stages, but there is an effort just beginning on Middlefield Road. We're in the planning stages of looking at the intersection of Middlefield and Willow, along with Middlefield and Woodland, kind of that segment of Middlefield Road. We have a grant from MTC to work on a downtown parking study, along with a study about multimodal access to our Caltrain station. Those are both MTC grants. Last meeting, we talked about the Willow Road Ped Bike Safety Project, which is the Class 4 along Willow. There is work happening to look at the grade separation for Caltrain, which sometimes we talk about as the middle undercrossing, also known as the middle undercrossing. There is work being done on the intersection improvements along Santa Cruz Avenue and Sand Hill. That's the other grant that is won. been one. Intersection improvements at Oak Knoll, also a grant that has been awarded, and that's, those two are in the design stage. The Middle Avenue, oh, sorry, I misspoke. When I mentioned the Caltrain grade separation, there is also a separate effort with Caltrain grade separation besides Middle Avenue on some of the other intersections, because now we also have the middle Caltrain crossing separately on the list here. The quiet zone work, we are working on implementation of the daylighting law. We're working on action plan for Vision Zero implementation, along with coordination with other agencies. An example of that would be the Coleman Ringwood work as that connects with the county. And then we're partnering, you know, as a project moves through the planning and design phase, when it goes to implementation, then there are staff that work with us on the implementation. So these are then kind of moved to be called a CIP project, capital improvement projects. And so then that's a partnership within Public Works. So the annual street improvement program is a CIP project, but each street that we look at for resurfacing, the transportation department is also looking at that to see, are there bike lanes that need to be implemented? Like, is there anything else we could be doing at the same time? We're cross-checking it with our transportation master plan, our safe routes maps, our pedestrian master plan, all of those things. We're double checking and looking to see if it's if there's something reasonable that can be done while we're repaving or resurfacing. These three projects then listed here, the El Camino Real, Ravenswood Crossing, the Middle Avenue Complete Streets, and the high voltage circuit replacement are all projects that will be under construction this year. And looking ahead, just the next couple things. So tonight we're gonna select a new chair and vice chair. We will then in June and July be working on our commission work plan. And then I do want to talk about the subcommittees and make sure we have kind of just do some housework to see if who is on what subcommittees and if they all need to keep going on. And then we will work towards that annual report out to City Council on August 12th. We'll need to select someone. Usually it would be the chair to make that report out. I think that's it for this presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I've got this. Okay, here we go. Are there any clarifying questions from the commission before I take public comment? Commissioner Erica Moss.
On the list of projects that you're leading, I think maybe the text was obscuring it, but the last couple, like all of them said they were in design phase or planning phase or construction phase. The last couple didn't have a phase listed.
They were a little more programmatic.
Okay.
In that it's kind of a program that we're it's not a dedicated project, so to speak, is kind of the differentiating factor. So it's not a specific project that can have a beginning, middle, end kind of, yeah.
Thanks.
I had, okay. Are there any other clarifying questions? I had one. Could you pull up the slide where, with the list of transportation projects? I think that was it.
And it may not be exhaustive.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, actually speaking to that for a moment, I think one element of middle that might be missing from the list is the El Camino Real intersection.
Yes.
I think we met on that in December. But
Yeah.
that was a pretty substantial conversation. So maybe we can add that back in.
Mhm.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and that one would be under the planning. I'm not going to call it design yet because there's still, we're still iterating on the planning
Great.
of
Thank
the
you.
design of that one.
Actually, you know what? It was the baseline ops slide. I think it's a slide before this.
The daily operations.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so on this slide, oh, just had a couple of questions that have always been on my mind, but now we have two new folks. It's making me look at it. Finally ask. So when you say grant applications and management, it strikes me that it appears that almost every project we do has some grant application element, or we apply for a grant for that. Is that about right?
At least half, if
At
not more.
least half. Okay. I think
Yeah.
that's interesting.
And definitely the more major projects do. I think if you were to follow council through their efforts on the budget, it's
Right.
just,
Right. It's kind of just interesting to note from like a public policy perspective that, you know, in a city like this, accomplishing kind of the major infrastructural improvements, the millions of dollars, you know, whether it's Middle Avenue or Willow, requires the city to do this extra work to apply for grants. And as you all, you know, the two new folks and stuff get more familiar with the timeframes of sort of how things occur, that's definitely a chunk, is the grant, getting the grant. So that I wanted to point out. The other thing I thought was interesting was, yes, so development review. So we all know that there are some really big developments coming online for Menlo Park. Clearly, there's the downtown housing that's been a source of great discussion. There's also Parkline, and there was before that Springline. So one of the things we talked about a couple of years ago, I remember, Jackie will remember, is how can our commission be more helpful in looking at, you know, proposed designs of, you know, major developments like downtown, for instance, or Parkline, and provide our point of view around whether they're highly accessible to multimodal transportation and, you know, whether there are enough bike racks or et cetera, et cetera. So I don't, it's at the time, the answer we heard was that the process is such that the planning commission is the chief commission that really reviews those things. But I guess maybe one of the ways we can handle this is in the future. You know, I always get like Betsy Nash's newsletter about what's going to be on the council agenda. Maybe, you know, the chair or whomever can keep an eye on when some of those really big discussions are occurring, at least making sure that a commission member goes, you know, listens to the discussion. If they have, you know, reviews the plan, if they have some feedback, we can discuss in the future, but maybe there's a process we can put together where we, you know, don't necessarily have a commission meeting around it, but, you know, those interested can comment and make sure they comment, because I think it is important. There's such complex developments. There's so much to comment on, but I think we have to make sure that we're constantly building in that bike and ped infrastructure into these conversations. So we can talk about that further, but I just wanted to quickly suggest that might be something maybe we can be a little more active around. I think that's it. Yeah, the only other thing I just wanted to mention was the Middle Avenue intersection. But obviously we have a lot of projects on our plate. All right then. So Cassandra, if we have no more clarifying questions from commissioners, Cassandra, could you call for public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair Cole. For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature. Or if you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table, bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in the queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. This is one of those internal discussions. All right. So let me ask if there's any other further commission discussion on the new commissioner onboarding. Any other discussion, feedback, questions that you might have on the content presented by Katrine? I had one comment, which is if we could just generally, maybe if we could throw up the slide. It might have been the first slide. Let me just check quickly. When I see the slide deck again, I can tell you which one it was, but it was just about sort of general purpose of the commission.
sure.
Thank you. Yes. All right. Well, I just wanted to share my experience on the commission. Jackie may have more to add on this, but there are some things that I think commissioners end up doing informally that I think are useful to the city and useful to the council and the staff. One of the things is when people find out you're a complete streets commissioner, they often ask you, they talk about a particular part of the city, or they have a comment about, one of the maybe projects we're doing that's been in the news, et cetera. And in that way, you serve as a bit of a conduit between the public and the city council and the staff. So for example, when the chair and vice chair meet with the agenda setting meetings with Katrine, if there's something that you've been hearing a lot about from your neighbors or other folks that you meet at Pete's or whatever, you can pass on that feedback. Sometimes, as we know, because we've received these emails, members of the public will reach out directly, sometimes with like very long emails around certain things, and then, you can work with staff to understand, to figure out how to respond. I think at one point I remember early on, someone on the commission asked me why, like, what qualifies us to be on the commission? And I think over time, what I'd say is that, we live here, we're residents, and it's our knowledge of the way people move around and travel and what modes they travel in and the observations we have about the usage and patterns on the streets are really, really important to these decisions and projects. So you are qualified. Also, like everything in life, I guess, once you look at something closely, you really, really start to pay attention to it. So over time, you aren't driving or walking or biking the way you used to. You're really, your eyes and ears, Jackie, oh my gosh, Jackie, thank goodness, has this bike to work that goes right up middle. And we were talking about middle, everything she said about where the construction trucks were blocking the bike lanes and everything was so important for us to know. So you really are the eyes and ears out there, and the information you provide is absolutely valuable. So that's another kind of role that we perform. And the last thing I'd point out is, if you feel really strongly about something, after we talk about it here, go to the council meeting, and when the council is considering something that we've made a recommendation on, going in person and saying, we felt really strongly about X, Y, and Z, or here's why we didn't do this. That matters because it shows that we're engaged. And sometimes, it's one thing for the city council member to read a staff report, but just seeing you in person saying this was important to us and here's why can be very compelling. And that's all I had to say about oh, I'm sorry. There's one more thing. So in the course of working on the commission, there have been a few times where I've been on a few like task force or committee or something outside the commission. They were so worthwhile and interesting. I think my favorite one was the Vision Zero task force, where we looked at all the data around collisions in the city that really informed my knowledge. And then another one, for example, was being on the Santa Cruz Avenue Safety Task Force, where there was a grant to bring a consultant in, and a lot of us went out and did like a walk audit with a consultant to see how the kids were arriving at Hillview and leaving Hillview. And it was a really interesting experience, and again, really helped inform the discussion and the decisions we made and the recommendations we made in the commission. So variety of different ways in which we get involved that I think are helpful to the city. And I just wanted to share my experience with that. Of course, yes, Commissioner Seabrian.
First, I would say that's an excellent description of all the things. I think one of the things that has just been really interesting to me is when I first joined, I had just gotten my e-bike. And so I was super interested in bike lanes, newly aware of where they weren't and where they were. And kind of surprised as somebody who's been driving across Menlo Park already for 15 years that I didn't realize how many bikes were already out there. And so that was such an aha moment for me as a driver that wow, no, there's a lot of bikes out here. But I came in as somebody who knew very little about road infrastructure and how towns, I didn't have any city planning background. I'm a reading teacher. So that's kind of, yeah. So I didn't have any of that other background. And over the course of 6 years, Instagram knows my sweet spot is really good bike infrastructure now. And so like just the fundamental sea change that happens after spending every month thinking about how to improve the transportation system in your town for all of its users, like it's an interesting thing and I've so enjoyed it. So I'm so glad you've joined us, and it's really like, yeah, you learn a lot. And I think it's helped me understand why things are the way they are and road design. And like, it's just, yeah, it's a whole interesting new thing. And so I think it's not just a show up every month and kind of answer questions. Like it becomes sort of a thing that, you know, it could consume you if you wanted, but like,
It could consume you, yes. That's a good
there's
way
a
of
lot to
putting
think
it.
about. So
Yeah, thank
it's
you.
super good to have you guys.
That's a great perspective. Thank you, Commissioner Seabrian. I think at some point in the slide deck, I noticed the phrase balanced discussion, that, you know, one of the things we try to do is have a balanced discussion. And I think that Katrine's probably been surprised at how long we've taken talking sometimes about things that seem pretty straightforward, but I do think it's really nice and respectful and courteous to make sure that like everyone has said everything they've had to say. So when we end up with our motion, people know why we came around to the, you know, conclusion or recommendation that we did, and we feel that there's been like a consensus. So I hope we continue with all that. All right, then, do we have anything else to say on this topic? If not, we will move to E3. Okay, moving to E3, which is selection of chair and vice chair. Katrine, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, now we will select our chair and vice chair. I have a tiny little slide deck to guide us through. First, I'll just give you a quick overview of what to expect. So the chair works with me to set the agendas for the Complete Streets meeting and presides over the meetings. You do get a script, so you don't
Yes.
have to have all of the rules and everything memorized, which, and also that's, you know, it's a meeting once a month in addition to meet to set the agenda. And then there could be an additional meeting that month if there's something that comes up. You know, Sally, I think you're nodding that, you know, sometimes it's probably not more than 2 or 3 meetings a month. Then the chair typically delivers the annual updates to the city council, and the vice chair serves as the chair in the chair's absence. And the chair and vice chair are sometimes called upon to represent the commission at ceremonial events. So an example would be Sally accepting the bike proclamation last night at the city council meeting. And so my recommendation is that we select a chair and vice chair by nominating individuals for these positions and then voting. I am ready to take notes here on nominations.
So sorry, should I be asking about the clarifying questions and
Mhm.
taking public comment now? Or I'm not quite, I guess I could? Because it
Yeah.
would be about the process? I'm confused. Do we take public comment on this? Confused.
On nominating the chair and
I
vice
don't know
chair.
if we do take public comment on that. Sorry, I'm not.
I don't think it can hurt. I doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
If someone has anything to say, we'll give them a chance to. And
Okay, so do we have any clarifying questions from the commission before I take public comment on this item? Okay. Thank you. Cassandra, will you please call for public comments on this item?
For virtual attendees who wish to provide a public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature, or if you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table. Bring it to the clerk's desk and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Well, let's have some further commission discussion before I ask for nominations. Well, let me ask for nominations, which is the discussion. So has anyone thought about this or given some consideration to whether they want to be in the role of chair or vice chair? I can tell that Commissioner Bergen Bailey is about to say something.
She is. Chair Cole, do you want to add anything to what Katrine has, Senior Engineer Maki has described for us as far as time commitment or anything else that would kind of add to the commissioner's knowledge base as to like the real input that the chair needs to have? But was the slide sufficient, did you feel, or would you want to add anything to that?
Thank you. Well, I'd say that the amount of work in the chair role can be a little, I would say the chair is the chair, right? You're sort of like on, it's like the buck stops here a bit. And so typically if something comes up, well, that warrants or suggests that, you know, reaching out to staff or a city council member and saying, what do you think about this? This is kind of, you know, a number of residents feel like quite strongly about something, you know, what should our response be and stuff. It can either be a bit of a rabbit hole, take quite a bit of time, or sometimes it's, oh, you know, this is related to a planning project. This is more of a planning department thing. And, you know, the Complete Streets Department, commission would comment later. And so it's like, oh, okay, that was that, you know? So it's sometimes a bit unpredictable about whether the chair, you know, it's productive for the chair to work with like maybe a council member or staff member to sort out, you know, what the consensus approach is. In terms of time, so that's just to say that it's unpredictable at times. But what is the time commitment on the record, or it's basically to prepare for the agenda setting meeting, to bring to that meeting not just, oh, what are we going to talk about next time, but there's a whole bunch of projects we've talked about in the past year. How are they all tracking? You know, do we want to give an update on Middlefield? You know, do we want to talk about, you know, this or that? So there is a bit of a kind of, I think anyway, a responsibility to sort of keep your eye on everything and make sure like all the things are moving forward, or at least be aware, you know, and ask. But I think that is helpful in part because sometimes the public will ask you about different projects. So it's good to know what's going on. I have had at times some contact with council members. You know, someone will reach out to me and say, I'm not sure that this project that we worked on for my district looked a bit like the project you're working on with this other part of the city. And then, you know, sometimes I'll walk through that area and then have another conversation, but that's infrequent, but it does come up. I did work with District 4 and District 5 council members on the recent discussion around Middle because it was pretty complex, and we wanted to make sure we were on the same page around the different traffic calming measures, which are so critical to that neighborhood. And I live in that neighborhood, so I had some. So anyway, so bottom line is things come up, and they're unpredictable. But I think it's not at all a full-time job, and sometimes nothing comes up in a week. I also think last year, I'm giving a bit of a long answer, I do apologize, but last year, I remember when we sat down and we had a lot of new members. We had Matthew and the two of you, it was just 3 people, but it seemed like a chunk. My thought was, oh, let's empower the subcommittees to do a bit more because it seemed like there was a lot on the plate of the city. And I thought, and I knew that at the time, the city council had asked us to do the bike rec inventory assessment, so that there should be a subcommittee on that. But either way, what I learned from that is that I think it's not really, I don't think it's the right idea to assume that everyone who's joined a commission also wants to spend more time or has more time to spend by being in a subcommittee. I really think that we don't need that kind of requirement or heaviness. I think it's about if you wanted to work on something else, we could ask everyone what it would be they'd want to work on. For example, like the Santa Cruz Avenue safety study. Would you like to be on this committee? Does anyone in this group want to be on this committee and provide like represent the commission on the committee, and then someone can raise a hand. But on an ongoing basis, I think it's a lot to ask people, and that's not what they thought was going to happen when they joined. That's it. The other thing I think to keep in mind about the chair role is that it sort of depends as well on the vice chair. If the vice chair is super energetic, has time to invest, like wants to do more, I could absolutely see the chair and vice chair sort of saying, you know what, when it comes to this type of issue, why don't you be the one to talk to staff about it? Like if a person writes in and says, you know, something and a public person passes a comment on to us, maybe they take that and, you know, I think you could split up work. It hasn't worked like that as much, but I think that could be done. I hope that's helpful. Oh, it is? Okay, good. Thank you. It's a bit hard to put into words since it's unpredictable. Does anyone have any other comments? I mean, Jackie's been chair and vice chair.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you say. I was thinking, you know, as like you've done such a great, like I love a lot of the things that you do as chair, and they aren't things that I thought, you know, they're just not things I thought of, right? I kind of go through like, what are the job requirements? Okay, I'm on it, right? And like, I kind of do the job requirements and whatever sort of like, you know, as my fancy, like there are things where you're like, oh, Middle Avenue, I'm going to go to those meetings and like, I'm definitely going to be on that. I'm not actually like part of, you know, as many other little meetings. I don't go to as many city council meetings, but I think Chair Cole does a really nice job showing what like a really involved chair would be like. And I think it's great. Like, I like that you look back at the agenda from last year to think about, to inform how you would do this year, which are super logical things for a leader to do. And I just think you're thoughtful about the general role, and you know, and so I do agree that there can be a lot to it, but it is also like, there is
Yes.
some freedom to like,
Yes, there is.
something comes up and I just have like my dedicated notebook, and I have a, you know, when something pops into my head, like, oh, I'm going to ask, at the time it was Kevin because, but I would ask,
Katrine.
like, oh, I'm gonna ask Katrine next meeting, like, what are we doing about this? And where is the room in the discussion? So I think the thing I liked about being chair is that it gives you just this little avenue to sort of talk a little bit more about the things that are really important to you, which can be nice. It doesn't mean that they're all agendized. It just means that you have a little bit of time to talk to a staff person all the time, and you can like ask some specific questions about things that are of interest to you. And so I found that informed my overall understanding of how the street transportation worked. And, you know, and so like, as things pop up, it was a nice opportunity to learn more about the job and the transportation thing. So like, I really loved that part of it. But I didn't dive as much into the like leadery bit where you're like, hey, let's all like everybody get around this thing. So I think those are the different sides
Absolutely.
I see of it. And I think that because the way the commissions are structured, you do get you get citizen volunteers who have like whatever kind of obligations outside of it. And we told them like, hey, it's just a meeting a month, right? Which I've learned a month comes really fast. And so, you know, it's considering that basic obligation and then opening the door to how much more you want
Yes.
and can give to it, because it will take as much as you want to give it. There's plenty to do. And so I think it benefits from having really involved people, but it also, I think it's keeping everybody engaged and involved, right? And I think you've done a great job of that and soliciting opinions, and so I think it's that kind of, yeah, that kind of thing.
I think you've made such a good point, Jackie. Thank you, because I think it is what you make of it. I agree. I really think I should have said that first. It is what you make of it. And people have different styles and different things they focus on. But the backbone of it is this meeting and the agenda setting meeting. And from there, it is what you make of it. So, and I think that goes for all of us, really. I mean, I do want to make sure, because we're talking about the chair and vice chair roles, but I do want to make sure that anyone who's on this commission feels like it is what you make of it. And it can be, you can really throw yourself into it. I mean, I'm so proud of Athena and Meredith for developing this bike rec survey. I am genuinely proud of both of you. And for getting it out there. When every time I saw an email this week about the bike rec survey, I was like, yes. Because everything counts that we do. It all adds up. And so I know that I became somewhat obsessed with Middle Avenue because it was like the thing I worked on first, really, on the commission. So I was really devoted to it. But everyone has the projects that they can, there's lots of room for getting involved. Excuse me. So that being said, if anyone else wants to make a comment about that, please do. But that being said, is there anyone here tonight and any of the commissioners feeling like, okay, I think that I would like to be a chair or vice chair? Please, you can self-nominate. If not, I could throw out some ideas, but I'm just being respectful for anyone here. We don't have Matthew here to chime in, but any thoughts? Anyone?
Well, I would say my first thought is that I'm super interested in nominating somebody else for those jobs. So just like, I don't want anyone to think that my longevity means I want to die.
You want to be back in the chair.
So yes, I'm super interested in nominating
Someone else,
other people.
other people, because Jackie's out. Okay. I'm glad you said that. I think it's important to narrow down.
What?
Yes.
No, I wouldn't say neither, but I also think that there's this great opportunity, since I am going to be terming out in like a year and a half, to begin developing our next leadership with two other people.
Okay.
It's just kind of my thinking.
Okay. Meredith, do you have any thoughts? Are you interested in either one of these? Or I think that you're pretty busy.
Yeah, I'm taking on a larger leadership role at my kiddo's school for the next possibly 2-ish years. If no one else is interested, that would be a conversation that I could have, but
Okay.
I would be interested if somebody else was interested to know about their interest.
Oh, okay.
Which was terribly-
Scott and Kevin, I'm assuming you're taking a newbie pass. Okay.
Although,
Well, I was kind of
it
looking at their
is not
faces, but
unheard of
no, it's not.
for like
It's
somebody
not.
new, I think you.
I did. I was
Yeah.
vice chair my first year. Yeah. Yeah.
So it
But I
is,
kind of was looking, I was seeing if I was reading their
right,
faces right. I'm
same.
reading Scott right. I'm not discouraging you. No, they both kind of went,
It's
ooh.
good for once a month.
Okay.
Okay, so Athena, any thoughts from you over there?
I'm open to it. I think my preference is for the vice chair position, but I'm open to the chair position if there's no other takers.
Okay.
Yeah, but I having been in neither role before, I don't have a good sense for how it works yet, and I would prefer to kind of ease into it.
Okay. Okay, so we have an ease. Well, this is my last year, everyone. Yeah. I mean, I think everyone probably knows this, but I am so happy that we have such a strong commission. I can just feel the good energy and the commitment. And it makes me really happy that it just feels like the future of this commission is super bright and we've got some super people on it and it's only going to get better, stronger and do more good stuff. If like Athena or Meredith, you feel like, oh, maybe the chair role is too much, you want to do the vice chair, I would do the chair role again for the year, but I would do that only with the stated commitment that I would do it in partnership with the vice chair. My only goal of that would be like, I'm happy to be in the seat for another year, but truly I would, and it wouldn't just extend to the vice chair, like anyone here who's like, I really think I want to be the chair or vice chair, but maybe a little bit like you, Meredith, but like maybe this right this very second, I would like to, the vice chair can lead some of the meetings. I'm happy to, maybe if I am getting on a call to talk to some council members, vice chair, get on that call with me, And Lisbeth and I did do that. She was the previous vice chair. Like she was really interested in talking to the police chief about traffic enforcement because it kept coming up. And so I was like, let's both get on a call. Let's do that on Friday. And then we had a really nice chat with him. So I really like sharing responsibility generally. And if that's helpful to the development of the, the skill set and the leadership on the commission, I would do that. But again, if someone wants to be the chair, that's also fine, but if that feels more comfortable, I would do it. But I would really want people to know that I think they would see a bit of a difference in the way that I'd be doing it. I wouldn't be pulling all the air out of the room. I don't want to be doing that anyway, but you know what I mean? I would really want, I would really share that feeling of like the buck stops here, the buck would stop with in a partnership. That's how I do it. But
I guess, I think if it's a partnership, I would be happy to be in a partnership with someone, like on this task. I guess if your preference is to maybe be the vice chair, for example, and I could be kind of step into that position and then seek out support as needed in addition to our stated partnership already.
Sure.
That would be something that maybe we could try.
Sure.
We'll see how it goes.
Yes, that sounds good. That sounds good. So it sounds,
because I don't want to impose on another term on you if you are sort of overwhelmed by it. But as I said, my
truly
slight preference
truly.
for vice chair, but it's-
Okay, good. I really mean it very sincerely. I want to do what's best for the commission. If you had said, oh God, that's such a relief, thank you, like, please be chair, I would have been like, sure, but I would be making sure that everyone was kind of doing it along with me. So it sounds like, Athena, it sounds like you are saying, hey, I can step up and be the chair. And if you would be the vice chair, we would be partnership.
Yes,
All right.
I can do that.
Okay, then.
Can also
Well, that sounds like kind of a nice arrangement. So would anyone like to make a nomination? Unless, yes,
I would
Meredith.
love to nominate Commissioner Eric Komos to be our chair next year and for Sally Cole to be our vice chair next year
Okay,
in this next
here.
yes,
Perfect.
chunk of time.
So does anyone, let's see, have any other nominations that is not another nomination that is not that nomination? No. All right. So that's the nomination on the table. I'm going to take I'm going to take a vote. May we have a show of hands for the slate of Commissioner Eric Komos as chair and Commissioner Cole as vice chair? Who's in favor? All right. We have a unanimous vote, 5-0. And I want to congratulate my colleague, Commissioner Eric Komos, on being the chair of the Complete Streets Commission. Was it it worked out, right? Okay. A little collaboration there. All right. Well, congratulations, Commissioner Komos. Look forward to partnering with you. Bueno. All right. So let's see what happened then. To offer the new chair, if he or she would like to take over the meeting. Yeah. Just a few more minutes of obscurity. All right, then I'll go out with a bang. All right, so now we will move on to E4, which is the selection of ad hoc subcommittee for the 2025-2026 work plan. Yes, okay, what this pertains to. Okay. I'm sorry, actually, you're going to provide direction. Katrine, the senior
yes.
transformation planner, will introduce this item.
Yes, I did a deep dive into ad hoc subcommittees and their rules and regulations because I think in Chair Cole, this came kind of from a discussion I heard you even mention a little bit tonight of that. I think we need to just tighten up our subcommittees, and I will give you some direction on what the rules and regulations are for our ad hoc subcommittees.
Great, thank you.
So an ad hoc subcommittee is what we should be calling them. They are limited in duration, so they're not ongoing. They have a specific defined task, and they're appointed by the commission to consider a very specific matter. And it's dissolved automatically upon submitting the final report or recommendation to the commission. And we can't have a quorum on any subcommittee. So there can be no more than 3 of the commission members that serve on an ad hoc subcommittee. So this committee cannot be a standing committee with a broad scope. And it is not ongoing indefinitely. And if they did, those would then become bodies that are subject to the Brown Act. So this is why we have these rules. And if you're following the Brown Act public meeting rules, you'd have to be posting agendas, preparing meeting minutes, and only the city council actually has the capacity to establish a standing subcommittee, and it would require additional staff resources that are not available. So our best practices for an ad hoc subcommittee would be to, whatever that task is, that it aligns with the direction provided to the CSC by city council, the narrow and specific scope that results in a final report so that there is that conclusion and then dissolution. It shouldn't really last longer than 6 months. And the scope of the roles and responsibilities will be defined by the commission. And it should operate relatively independently. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't have any meetings with staff operations, but it should be limited. Definitely check-ins are fine. And so with that, we're going to come back at a future meeting to discuss all of the subcommittees for the Complete Streets Commission. But for tonight, the recommendation is to establish an ad hoc subcommittee for the editing and revisions of the Complete Streets Commission work plan. And then the members of that subcommittee will bring back a red line version of the work plan for the Complete Streets Commission meeting for review in June. We'll probably take away some edits from there and then present that revised work plan for adoption in July. And at that point, the subcommittee would disband. That concludes my presentation of outlining what an ad hoc subcommittee is.
Yes. Thank you, Katrine, for that presentation. Let's ask for clarifying questions from the commission before I take public comment. Does anyone have any clarifying questions either about what constitutes an ad hoc committee or standing committee? And what would be the purpose of the ad hoc subcommittee that we're going to create in this meeting to take a stab at a draft 2025-2026 work plan? Does anyone have any clarifying questions? Okay. No. Cassandra, thank you for your perseverance. Will you please call for public comments on this item?
Yes, thank you. For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature. Or if you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table, bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. Do we have any further commission discussion on this item? I had 2 things I wanted to say. Does anyone have anything they would like to say? No. Okay. So I just want to say quickly that when Jackie will back me up on this, when I first started on the commission, there were a lot of committees, a lot of subcommittees, and they did seem to be sort of standing and kind of kicking around for a while. And so it's taken a few years. Last year, we had a great discussion about this with Kevin, but I'm really happy that we all have consensus around that these committees are really formed to do a specific thing in a focused way. I think that will use our time well. It's a little bit like the bike assessment survey, which was, the city council asked us to do an assessment of bike wrecks in the city, and that's what they did, but that really helped. I think staff didn't have to do it, right? And so it was useful use of our time, and also it got done. And I think that's the kind of thing that the subcommittee should do. The only comment I had around the description of the attributes of the committees is I don't know if I personally would be strict about they can only be around for 6 months and then they're dissolved, because it might take longer than 6 months. But, I'll just say that I think some things take longer. We'll see. Okay, so The next, as Katrine said, we'll talk at a future meeting around what would be the subcommittees for this year. Ad hoc subcommittees, but we have to create one now because when Katrina and I spoke in the agenda setting meeting, we agreed last year, I don't know if folks remember, but last summer, it seemed like it took too many meetings to look over the work plan and redline it. It just got kind of a bit of a rabbit hole. So it seems like it would be productive if a few of us could just break off between now and the June meeting and look at the draft of the 24, 25 work plan, really just as guidance, doesn't have to be the same way. And then work with Katrine on what that 25, 26 work plan could look like, draft something to present back at the June meeting to all of us. So we can say, does this look like it's 80% of there? Have we missed anything? And we could speed the process up a bit. So given that, I'm going to ask for nominations for this committee. I'm going to nominate somebody, if that's okay, which is Kevin. And the reason I'm nominating you, Kevin, is that over the years, as I've heard you give comments, I could tell that you have a very ordered way of thinking. And this type of, this particular project deserves that or needs that, which is clarity, keeping a clear mind, right? That's where we really got balled up last year. I thought it was just like writing in a really clear way to be specific about what we'll be working on. So we all go, yes, that's what we're doing. So I would like to nominate you, but I don't know, I guess you could, you don't have to do anything. But
I accept your nomination.
thank you, accept my nomination. Okay, sorry, we don't do this very often. Does anyone else want to nominate someone or self-nominate to this short-lived committee, be a month or two long, to write a board plan?
I will be a part of it as
Athena,
upcoming chair.
awesome. Self-nomination from Athena. Love it. Sorry, Commissioner Eric Ramos. Would anyone else like to self-nominate, or I'm happy to nominate someone myself? If no one does, I'll nominate the third person. Thoughts?
I'm either one. I'm fine. I can totally join it.
Okay.
And I'm happy to be on the work plan.
Well, that's great because I was going to nominate you.
Okay, sure. I mean, I'm also like totally fine if you want to do it.
No, I'm very excited to nominate Commissioner Seabrand. All right, so we have 3 people. So I guess if anyone else has any nominations, speak now. Otherwise, we will take a vote on the nominated ad hoc subcommittee members. And they are Commissioner Kevin Rennie, Athena Arakomos, and Jackie Seabrand. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Raise a hand or two, or okay, awesome. And I guess we have a 5-0 unanimous. Perfect. Thank you, guys. That was really well done. All right, then we will move on to informational items. Under informational items, the city staff provides an update on matters of importance to the commission. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. The first informational item tonight is update on major project status. Katrine, do you have any updates?
I do. We have a survey out for feedback from the Nealon Park users on the pilot projects of the back-end angle parking and the Blake Street closure. You can access the survey. There's signs and flyers in the park, and they went out today, so they're freshly in the park. The survey link is posted on the Nealon Park website. That's probably a little bit easier, or the Middle Avenue website on the city's website. Additionally, the survey will go out in the Library and Community Services newsletter.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure the park users are seeing that survey.
Yeah. It'll
be open for by the end till the end of the month.
Oh, so 2 weeks.
3 weeks. It'll be.
Oh.
Yeah. 3 weeks. It will be open 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, because it's already been open.
We're kind of, we got it up today. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So since it's such a busy time of year, and I think it's really important that we get like kids and parents, certainly parents seeing that. And you said there's signs around the park. Do we want to put it in Menlo? That'd be useful.
Could I also suggest maybe putting it in the MPCSD newsletters or the Oak Knoll newsletter, perhaps?
So those would be our suggestions.
Yeah, we did
Which I
definitely-
can help with
Yeah.
if you need it. Let me know.
Maybe help you or something. Okay, thank you. I think it's important. Yeah. Okay, great. Do you have anything else?
That
Katrina?
concludes my major
concludes-
project status update.
I wondered if we if we wanted to provide an update to the commission on the outcome of the city council review of the Middle Avenue revised traffic calming measures.
So the project was awarded to the contractor. There were some modifications to the design. I am not prepared to comment precisely on those modifications. I don't want to
think-
get them wrong.
Yeah, so in the city council's review of the modifications, because we did just see this as a commission recently, there were some changes proposed by the council that were passed in the motion. One of them was to explore citing the blinking, what's that called again? The rapid.
The
blinking?
rapid flashing beacon.
Yeah, to cite that at the Arbor crosswalk that's, I'm sorry, it's right at the entrance of the park rather than citing it as proposed in the staff's revisions, which was by that church. So the council approved that. The other thing was to look at the placement of the speed bumps that were located close to the Blake Street crosswalk and explore moving them closer to El Camino, I believe was the second thing. And then the third thing was maybe removing the flashing beacon at Yale and just having it be a raised crosswalk. I think that was it. But either way, I should have that in front of me. If anyone wants, this commission wants to see what the council did, I believe those were the three changes. I know there were three changes.
And the meeting minutes and video are on the
Yes,
council website.
you
if
can go
wanted
back
to-
to that, but there were a couple of, revisions made to the revisions, I guess is what I would say. Okay. Oh, sorry. At the last, yeah. Okay. So let's have Cassandra call. Well, actually, I think we should say the bike survey before the public comments. Okay. So, Commissioner Bergen-Bailey is going to quickly give an update in this section around the bike survey.
So Commissioner Irakomos and I have been working on the bike rack inventory tasked to us by the city council. We opted to go with a survey so that we could get feedback from our entire community. At the beginning of the month, we sent flyers through our various email networks to all of our contacts. We asked our other Complete Streets commissioners to do the same. We sent it to the city council members in case they could also put it in their newsletters. We just saw it in Menlo yesterday.
Yes, there it was.
We're working with some MA students to make sure that it gets out to the MA community. We also posted physical flyers at community spots. And I wish there was a way to see who fills it out like via email versus the physical, but
Next time.
yeah. As of this afternoon, we have 142 responses in English, one in Spanish. And just a kind of a quick, I kind of went through the data, just a quick little something before we do a final report at the end of the month. 135 people, someone in their household bikes, scooters, or e-bikes in Menlo Park. The biggest destinations of those bike, scooter, and e-bike trips were downtown Menlo Park with 119,
Great.
Burgess with 88,
Mm.
and then generic parks and playgrounds with 77.
Mhm.
The top destinations needing more bike racks were downtown Menlo Park and the Burgess complex. Folks wanted to see more bike racks at Seminary Oaks Park, the library, Santa Cruz Avenue, Trader Joe's specifically, and the Burgess Pool. There's definitely commentary about the inferiority of specific types of bike racks. Current best practice is optimizes for 2 touch points between the bike rack and the bike, making the staple
Right.
style rack kind of the generally the most popular,
Yeah.
the most sensible. Even outside council chambers, we have a absolutely ridiculous bike rack. One that's just not very user-friendly at all. One of the questions that we posed that was open-ended was what bike infrastructure would you like to see improved? And protected bike lanes was a pretty majority response to that, which I felt was interesting. And then one final one that I'll comment on. The question is, if there are children in your household, what is holding you back from allowing children in your care to bike within Menlo Park? And just a quote that I thought kind of summed up a lot of the responses was, I would ride more, but sometimes I worry about my kids riding in the morning to school. Loads and loads of distracted drivers and kids in electric bikes give me great agitation when I think about my kids on their bike.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much. I mean, this is exactly, as we were talking about, the kind of project that's so vital, and you guys have done such a good job taking it on. So great to get the public feedback, and I encourage everyone to fill out the survey. And that ends at the end of the month, right? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I love that you're working with MA to get kids to fill it out. I wonder, yeah, anyway, we'll talk about that. Okay. So Cassandra, would you like to call for public items, please, on the items that we've just covered?
Thank you. For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature. Or if you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table. Bring it to the clerk's desk and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you, Cassandra. All right. Well, before I adjourn the meeting, I just wanted to make sure everyone remembers that tomorrow is the Bike to Wherever Day, May 15th. So make sure you bike. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:55 p.m. Thank you for your time and service.